discussion of conservation of conservation through nature reserves. So in this part, we're going to talk about some of the physical features of nature reserves that are involved with promoting biodiversity. Okay, so the assessment statement for this topic. This one is now G.4.3. We're actually going in the opposite direction, but that's okay. What you need to know for this is to be able to outline the biogeographical features of nature reserves that promote conservation of biodiversity. Okay, so kind of the history with this. Okay. During the 70s and 80s, there was actually a debate, a pretty vigorous debate between scientists and ecologists about how nature reserves should look. And really the debate was concerning the size of the nature reserves. Okay, so the two sides of that argument were either a single large reserve. Let me actually undo that. So a single large reserve, or having several small reserves. And so the different sides argue their cases about whether a reserve should be just a singular large nature reserve, or whether they should have kind of several small ones kind of interspersed with each other. Okay. This debate actually has a name. It actually has its own page on Wikipedia. It is SLOSS. Okay, so single large or several small reserves. And then over time, basically, the large reserves were considered preferable for a couple different reasons. Okay, the main one is that having a large reserve means that you can have a large population within that nature reserve. And why that's important is because it helps to protect that nature reserve and really the species within that nature reserve from different things outside of your control, like natural disasters or disease outbreaks or things like that. So it protects from natural things, protects from natural disasters or diseases. And then the other kind of benefit along with that from natural disasters and diseases, the other main benefit that goes along with this is that it just allows for a larger gene pool. Okay, and we want to have the gene pool fairly large to conserve the genetic diversity within a particular population, especially so with endangered species. Okay, so we'll talk about. So the argument was kind of settled so that we had large reserves instead of several nature reserves, and we'll talk about some of the other biogeographical features that kind of play into that. Okay, so another one of the features that is kind of helped out by having large reserves refers to the edge effects. Okay, edge effects in terms of a nature reserve refers to the ecology on the edge of a particular ecosystem. Okay, and in general, what scientists find is that the ecology on the edge of an ecosystem is a lot different than kind of what's in the center. You can think about, it's different because there are different, maybe abiotic or biotic factors on the edge of a particular area than in the center. And in general, the edge is kind of detrimental to different species living within an area. Oftentimes, there's more competition, or predation along the edge than in the center of a particular area. Okay, so larger reserves kind of help reduce the effect of these edge effects, and we'll kind of look at a mathematical model that shows that. Okay, so let's say we have 3 different nature reserves of different sizes, and we'll represent different portions of that within squares. Okay, so in your very small one, if you look at the edge here as kind of breaking down squares, all 4 of the squares within your small nature reserve are affected by edge effects. So 4 out of 4 are affected for a total of 100%. Let's say we make a slightly bigger one, okay, and we still break it down into very similar sized squares. And so in this bigger area, now we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So only 16 of our possible areas are affected by the edge effect out of 25 total. So still not great, but a lesser percentage. If you actually calculate that out, which I'll do right now, 16 over 25, it gives you a 64% percent of your area basically affected. And then let's look at a 10 by 10 area. So in this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 on the other side, and then 8 and 8, I believe. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8 and 8. So 20 and 16. So we have 36 out of 100 total squares within our area affected, so only 36%. So as we get into larger and larger areas, less of the actual nature reserve will be affected by the edge of effects, which again is beneficial for our nature reserves. Okay, so one of the biogeographical features that promotes conservation of biodiversity and conservation of the endangered species is just making the making the nature reserve large. Another feature that helps to promote endangered species is the use of corridors within a nature reserve. So even if you have a large area, it's important to connect the different parts of your nature reserve with corridors. And kind of what this allows is for different animals or different species to travel around your different nature reserves more easily. It makes resources more accessible for the nature species, for the species there, and also just gives them more areas to roam around in. Okay, so in general, having a corridor between two parts of your nature reserve is preferable to not having a corridor. So this is better because it allows the endangered species to move back and forth here, whereas in here they would be isolated with each other. And then you just want to kind of think about the space, like if you have 3 different areas within a nature reserve that you're designing, you want to try to connect them as much as possible. So kind of having a corridor that connects these 3 areas versus if you're designing a nature reserve, just kind of making one long kind of tunnel where these 2 fringe areas aren't able to connect really easily. Okay? Because with these nature reserves, like even though they are in the natural habitat, humans do have a degree of control about designing it. It's kind of one of the active management techniques. And so you want to think about effective use of space through making them large and then the use of corridors.